Respected Khenpo Sodargye, esteemed teachers and fellow students, since the 1980s, with the development of the economy, global environmental issues have become increasingly prominent. Acid rain, a sharp decline in biodiversity, land desertification, drastic reduction of forests, and the decrease of tropical rainforests, as well as large-scale environmental problems, such as pollution of rivers, lakes, and oceans, have seriously threatened humanity's survival and development. For 20 years, despite proposals for environmental pollution prevention and the introduction of cleaner production, circular economy, and sustainable development concepts, resource shortages and environmental pollution persist. Humanity needs to reflect and advocate for the choice of a development model that can alleviate resource shortages and reduce environmental pollution. Today at Guangxi University, at the Environmental Pollution Prevention and Sustainable Development Forum, we are honored to have invited Khenpo Sodargye, Larungga Buddhist Academy. Khenpo Sodargye is an internationally renowned Buddhist master and translator proficient in both exoteric and esoteric Buddhist teachings. In his early years, he traveled the world spreading the Dharma with His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, with his footprints covering the United States, Canada, France, Germany, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, Japan, and various countries in Southeast Asia. For a long time, the Master has been dedicated to social welfare and charitable causes, establishing wisdom and compassion schools, nursing homes, and providing financial aid to impoverished university students, among other efforts, making outstanding contributions to charitable work. Khenpo Sodargye has lectured at Peking, Tsinghua Science Park, Renmin, Fudan, Nanjing, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, Sun Yat-sen, and other renowned universities. He has opened new avenues for exchanges between academic and Buddhist communities. Today, the Venerable Khenpo will help us understand this topic through Buddhist teachings, how the Buddhist concept of less greed leads to a low-carbon lifestyle. He will guide us to understand the relationship between choices of the mind, environmental protection, and sustainable development. He will help us see clearly that purifying the mind will inevitably reduce humanity's excessive exploitation and use of resources, as well as the destruction and pollution of the environment. Upholding Guangxi University's motto of diligence, sincerity, profound learning, and innovation, we promote the inheritance, innovation, and exchange of culture, carry out teaching reforms, and explore new teaching models, broaden students' horizons, and guide them to develop innovative thinking. Tonight, we have the opportunity to listen to the heartfelt words of Khenpo Sodargye. I hope everyone can experience the new concept of low-carbon living from the heart. Now let us warmly welcome Khenpo Sodargye to give us his lecture.
To the esteemed teachers and brilliant students of Guangxi University, a very good evening to each and every one of you. Today, I am profoundly honored and deeply privileged to have this wonderful opportunity to visit your distinguished institution, Guangxi University, and to engage in meaningful and enriching communication with all of you present here this evening. Before I officially begin our discussion and delve into the main points, I have a rather simple yet profound thought that I wish to share with all of you. This thought encompasses two distinct aspects. One of these aspects is not so happy or joyful, while the other is a genuinely happy. I'd like to just briefly explain this a little bit here, and then we'll very soon move on to our primary main topic. First, let me truly talk about what really made me not quite so happy. This is really my very first time coming to Guangxi University, to be honest. But as for Nanning, I visited here 15 years ago. When I came here, I was with my teacher, my master. The very renowned His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok came here together with me. At that time, I served as both translator and attendant. We stayed for a few days by the Yongjiang River. At that time, our master also gave lectures to everyone. Later, we also held an event like this by the river at Qingshu Mountain. It was a so-called animal release event, aimed at protecting animals. When I arrived here yesterday, I felt a heavy feeling in my heart, because the venerable old master has already departed from this world. 15 years later, when I returned here in my daily life, or in my every action, walking, standing, sitting, and lying down, his every move often appears in my mind, especially the teachings he left me, these precious truths about life that he passed down. They linger persistently in my mind, and I can truly never get enough of them, these profound and impactful experiences. So I think for many young people gathered here today, you too have undoubtedly had the privilege of encountering many very compassionate teachers. The true and profound teachings that our revered teachers have graciously left us are in fact truly present in our daily lives and throughout our entire journey. It is more precious than anything else. When we have it, we don't realize its true value. But once our teacher is just gone, or when we are no longer with our teacher, we often think about so many things. Of course, I will always remember the profound and enlightening teachings he graciously bestowed upon us. I sincerely hope that everyone gathered here today, if you are genuinely interested, will also diligently study the precious and invaluable words of wisdom he thoughtfully left for the entire world. Within these profound words of wisdom, it is not merely a message intended solely for intellectuals, but people from all walks of life in the world who can study and embrace them. This is my personal reflection. My second thought is that I am still very happy. The profound reason I am truly happy is that at Guangxi University, including some of the esteemed teachers present here today, some of them even 20 years ago, we were diligently studying Buddhism, earnestly searching for the profound mysteries of the mind and the ultimate truth of all things. We have shared valuable exchanges and gotten to know each other quite well in this area. After I first arrived here, I also connected with some teachers from other schools. These teachers have always been incredibly dedicated to their important positions, continuously delving deeply, exploring and seeking the profound mysteries of the mind. I think for those who pursue knowledge, this is a very necessary attitude. Some people, whether they are researching a topic or studying knowledge, may feel a temporary surge of passion, but after a certain point, they also disappear without a trace. I think this kind of attitude isn't very good. It's like swallowing dates whole without tasting them. This attitude is not really very good. So I truly think for everyone present here today, we also share a very simple and meaningful connection. Next, I'd like to begin by thoroughly discussing the current crucial prevention efforts regarding environmental pollution and the vital importance of sustainable development, along with the Buddhist low-carbon attitude. Of course, it is essential to acknowledge that this particular issue is indeed a very broad and extensive topic. Including myself as the speaker, I am also quite insignificant. The projects or work we need to undertake are extremely large-scale. Of course, they may not necessarily be achievable, but I believe that everyone here today are people who are knowledgeable, idealistic, and have ambitious goals. Each person, while shaping their own outlook on life, needs to carefully consider many different issues. On this crucial point, we must first come to a shared understanding, a common ground. What specific kinds of problems currently exist in terms of environmental pollution? Of course, Guangxi University possesses certain notable advantages in this important area. This is not only true among many universities, but also extends to being recognized even across all of Asia. It should be said that this field has its own unique features and has been the subject of considerable research. Today, I am personally wearing the robes of a monastic. Some of you here may be Buddhists and some of you may not be. But today, we are not here to talk about faith. We are here to discuss academics and values. At this moment, I am standing here as a monastic, as a Buddhist. I would like to share my views on the world. Perhaps you might think that Buddhists typically stay within temples, constantly chanting Namo Amitabha Buddha, diligently reciting the sacred name of Amitabha Buddha. Other than that, they are completely isolated from the world and their surrounding environment. How could it be that someone like that would come to a gathering of young people to interact and communicate? Maybe some people have this kind of idea. Of course, Buddhist thought can be said to have both Theravada and Mahayana aspects. If we follow some of the views of Theravada or Southern Buddhism, then so-called Buddhism is about attaining liberation for oneself. Most dedicated practitioners often go deep into the remote mountains to seek spiritual liberation for themselves. In their daily conduct, including the precepts, they are indeed extremely strict. Monastics are not even allowed to physically touch money in order to completely avoid their own personal greed. Among the monastic precepts, monks are not even allowed to touch gold. This is one of the precepts. But in the Mahayana precepts, this is different, because the spirit or philosophy of Mahayana Buddhism is not only to consider one's own liberation, but also to consider the liberation of many sentient beings, many lives, to free them from the struggles of their suffering. As long as it is beneficial in this regard, then many actions are not only permitted, but indeed must be carried out. Now, whether it's the Tibetan Buddhism or the Chinese Buddhism, Everyone may have heard of what is widely known as Mahayana Buddhism. In fact, in Mahayana Buddhism, regardless of whether one is a monastic or a layperson, what is everyone's common goal? It's not just reciting the Buddha's name by oneself or burning incense and worshipping Buddha while living in a temple. It should be said that the most crucial issues in the world, the most painful and urgent problems facing humanity, everyone should think and explore these issues together. This is the core idea. So I personally believe that when it comes to environmental protection and many issues related to environmental pollution, not only do I feel that I have a certain responsibility myself, I can say that I am just 1 out of 7 billion people on this earth. I am also one of humanity, and I have my own responsibilities. Each of you is exactly the same as me. The only difference is in our clothing, and perhaps some of our living habits are different. It's just that our values and ideals may differ somewhat. But the significant goals we truly pursue should be, when you eventually graduate from here and then enter into society, is your ultimate goal only for your own immediate family, just for your personal happiness, such a relatively small wish, or is it to do what you can, truly, for the greater good, for society, for all of humanity, and indeed for the entire world? This is something we can all ask ourselves honestly and deeply. If my ultimate goal is just a small personal ideal, then in worldly terms, this could certainly be considered a rather petty act, not the honorable conduct of a true gentleman. I firmly believe that the faculty and students of such a truly great university must be very deeply concerned about the surrounding environment. So I also share a common interest with everyone here, and I personally have a certain passion for this. I have participated in many forums, and I often discuss these topics with individuals and some scholars. In my daily life, I also reflect on these issues. What has environmental pollution in Tibetan regions become like today? And what has the environmental pollution in Han regions turned into? Having come into this world, I have some understanding of life since childhood. So, from the past to now, what kind of situation has it become? When I am completely alone, I often reflect on this particular thought as well. My personal way of thinking may not be exactly the same as yours, though there might indeed be some notable similarities. As for my way of thinking, I first try to understand what kinds of problems currently exist in our environment. I think these are universally recognized around the world, such as water pollution. Speaking of water pollution, it is now extremely severe. According to reliable scientists, their research reports show that now 70% of all water has already been polluted. Some time ago, I was in Shanghai, and there was a device. This kind of device is placed in the water, and about 30% of it consists of a lot of sediment and impurities. It was really frightening to see, almost to the point where you wouldn't dare to drink it. When this device was placed into mineral water, by direct comparison, it was a bit better. There was still so much sediment, so many impurities. These substances have to be detoxified by our liver and kidneys. This places a considerable burden on the human body, but right now we have no choice but to drink it. If we absolutely don't drink it, we will certainly die of thirst. There's truly nothing we can effectively do. As for the fundamental reason behind this, I think everyone is quite well aware of it. In many cities within the Han region, water pollution is indeed becoming increasingly serious nowadays. If we were to observe our planet Earth from the distant perspective of other planets, it would appear as a blue sphere, with 70% of its entire surface covered by water, but only a small portion of that water is actually drinkable. Especially the water we drink nowadays, for the most part, comes from places like the Qinghai Tibet Plateau, Mount Everest, and the Himalayas, flowing down from there. Whether it's the Yangtze River, the Yellow River, or the Ganges, many rivers in Asia are like this, gradually and progressively, and this is also due to the development brought by the Industrial Revolution, combined with current investment and international trade, which have all significantly led to varying degrees of environmental pollution. So in terms of water pollution, I think there is still a very serious and undeniable level of crisis now. The sharp and alarming decline of forests is also an extremely serious and pressing issue. As everyone knows, planting a tree means it will take decades for it to grow up. In my hometown, when I was a child and hadn't started school yet, around the age of 10 or so, I often went to herd yaks. While herding yaks, I saw many young trees that had just been planted on the mountains. Now, those trees are about as tall as a typical single-story building, but they still haven't fully grown into towering trees. It takes many, many decades for a tree to truly mature, but when it comes to cutting them down, it only takes a mere few seconds or a few minutes. It is precisely because of the excessive deforestation of forests that nowadays all kinds of floods and disasters occur in the world, and these are related to it as well. This is not only supported by a lot of reliable evidence from Buddhists, even many scientists today firmly believe this to be true. More recently, some detailed reports from the province of Yunnan have clearly shown that approximately 2.3 million people are currently in extremely critical and precarious situations. Some sources say the number is close to 5 or 6 million. No matter what the exact number is, many people in Yunnan are suffering from severe droughts, and I have been paying close attention to this as well. It is understood that many paper mills in Indonesia, including the world's largest factory, are located there. In this case, as everyone knows, making paper requires cutting down large amounts of forest. This critically includes vast regions like the continent of Africa nowadays, where an alarming number of around 14 million vulnerable people are currently facing severe and widespread food shortages. There are even over 1 million children suffering from malnutrition, leading to many deaths. People around the world are now truly powerless to help. In this very particular situation, related reports also clearly state that this is due to excessive deforestation and similar activities. All the precious water is lost and the soil cannot be effectively stored. In fact, this is already the case in some vulnerable areas. Perhaps I am merely a cautious worrier, much like the ancient fool who fears the very sky will fall. This concern is truly about the future of all those numerous places that haven't yet directly experienced drought. In the coming future, will humanity continue to recklessly and irresponsibly destroy our natural environment and deplete our mineral resources like this? Will such problems keep emerging endlessly? Even for those of you present here, before you leave this world, will we also see many such disasters occur in the world? There are also many other issues. For example, the significant hole in the Earth's protective ozone layer, which is also an extremely serious environmental concern. Originally, the Earth's outer shell had an ozone layer, which effectively served to protect all the living beings on its surface. But according to current geologists, there are now many breaches and vulnerabilities. Ultraviolet rays now directly penetrate, affecting places like the Antarctic and Arctic, as well as the bodies of many living creatures above our Earth. As a result, this leads to the emergence of various diseases and other issues in the future. Countless disasters keep occurring one after another. Including the destruction of soil and the mining of valuable minerals. This process is happening everywhere. For example, on the Qinghai Tibet Plateau and many other plateaus, there are some iron mines and coal mines. And after digging for gold, silver, and other treasures, what has truly become of those places is something everyone should indeed be aware of. These things are actually quite very real in our daily lives. Maybe you haven't really paid much attention to them. Right now, I only truly care about money. Right now, I solely care about finding a suitable job. Right now, I only genuinely care about finding things that make me happy. As for other important ideas, completely apart from these, I don't care about national affairs, I don't care about world affairs. Some people are just born this way, and that's precisely how it is for them. Actually, I truly think it's not entirely possible for every single one of us to take care of absolutely everything, but we still deeply need to care about the entire world, to have profound compassion for all of humanity. Or if you possess this kind of wisdom, that's especially and truly important. If you don't even have that, then in the future, much of the knowledge we learn will be used entirely from a purely selfish and self-centered starting point. This is certainly not ideal, whether in society or in other various circles. It's not very desirable in any context. So I truly hope that we should first understand what kind of situation current environment is truly in. We need to be aware of this. I think the emergence of this situation, of course, also has some other additional reasons and contributing factors. But what is the most fundamental cause? It's our greed, human desire. Desires keep expanding, and this is closely related. In other words, excessive greed is definitely connected to desire. Our greed is linked to a lack of frugality. Nowadays, many people waste things in a truly alarming way. Some time ago, I spent the New Year in a city in the Han region. During the festive New Year, there were vibrant firecrackers and fireworks everywhere. The sounds I heard were truly overwhelming, and at that moment I was thinking, wasn't it like the sound of gunfire during World War II? Could it really be like that? Logically speaking, people think this is what New Year is about, a kind of happiness, a kind of enjoyment. But in this kind of environment, the loud and sudden sounds that arise from these events always give an uncomfortable to many. But what exactly is the ultimate result and consequence of all these firecrackers being set off? Everyone knows that first and foremost, their extensive production consumes a great deal of valuable and often non-renewable resources. These resources, in just a short period of time, just to hear a rather novel and unique sound, or to see a particularly spectacular display of colors, how much manpower and how many resources are used up. And after it's all completely over, when these items eventually return to nature, the burden on recycling processes becomes even greater. So we often think, if we truly don't know how to properly save, then even during the significant New Year, how much trash and how much property is truly wasted for no real purpose? I deeply wonder if any of you have ever thought about this important issue. There are still many, many people, including when they are eating, though it's a bit better now, thankfully, compared to Western countries. It used to be especially alarming, especially in China, when dining or hosting guests. For the sake of saving face, if there is a lot truly left over on the table, then people feel proud of themselves. After the meal, everything is completely thrown away, all of it wasted. More is wasted than actually eaten. Now, many people are starting to change their mindset a little. However, among the affluent upper class, including some influential leaders and successful entrepreneurs, for the sake of saving face, they go all out for a single meal. A single meal can cost several thousand or even tens of thousands of yuan. But the actual food you can eat might only be worth a few hundred yuan. This is also a kind of profound desire for excessive waste, which is truly quite frightening. Even the very clothes we wear now, just think about it yourselves. In the past, whether within our traditional culture and societal norms, or specifically within the profound teachings of Buddhism, for example, when a piece of clothing becomes significantly worn out after being extensively used, you could initially use it as a cushion, and after this cushion has become worn out from its regular use, you could then carefully cut it into smaller pieces and thoroughly shred it. Subsequently, you could mix these shredded materials with earth to make sturdy walls. Or alternatively, you could utilize the remaining scraps for various other beneficial purposes. In Tibetan areas, everyone has this kind of mindset. But what is it like now? Many young people keep changing clothes over and over again. And they genuinely demand high-end brands. They see this as a symbol of their personal identity. Especially, I also deeply understand the mentality of many college students often. In some respects, the mentality of college students is particularly problematic. They haven't learned the knowledge they should have learned. Every day they're lazy and muddle through. They waste all their time in college. And many areas where competition isn't even necessary. You wear a fancy designer brand, so I wear a designer brand too. You have a really nice phone, so I buy one too. Whatever kind of car you have, right now, the atmosphere at many universities isn't genuinely focused on truly useful knowledge. What's bad is that the entire competition is solely about clothes. But after competing over clothes, what do you actually get in the end? Within a single semester, you go through so many clothes. People with money keep changing outfits. I used to learn about this. People in big cities nowadays, some of them have hundreds of outfits just for themselves. They can't even wear them all, but there's nothing they can do about it. Some people just throw them away after wearing them for a month or two. What a waste. Let's think about it. A single piece of clothing, from the source of all its materials, every single fiber, every single thread. Where do these come from? They're not easy to come by. Just like in ancient times, whether it was a single grain of rice or a single thread, people cherished their blessings and had a kind of loving care for things like that. But do people nowadays have that? The people around us, that every day they feel proud of wasting things and ashamed of being frugal. If someone is frugal, or if someone chooses to wear the same clothes for a long period of time, people often think there must be something wrong with them, or perhaps their family is especially poor. This is the mindset that people tend to have nowadays. It seems that the more you embrace the idea of being frugal, the more others look down on you. People all have different opinions about you. This is truly the kind of modern era we are currently living in. Is this particular way of thinking truly reasonable or not? I personally think it's completely and utterly unreasonable. In our esteemed Buddhist academy, many venerable senior monks have consistently worn the very same clothes for many, many years. There was an old master before. He's still wearing clothes from 1987 to this very day. He's a very good friend of mine. You could certainly say he's a Khenpo. This particular Khenpo, back when we first arrived at the Buddhist academy, he had gone there earlier than me, about 2 years before, around 1982. The teapot he used back then, he still uses it now. Nowadays, many people always have a mindset of comparison and competition. You should also think about whether this competitive mindset has any real meaning when it truly comes to this particular matter, if it genuinely benefits our lives or your overall knowledge, or if it brings advantages to your work and other aspects, then it might be acceptable. But that's not really the actual case for everyone. Some students' families are truly not that financially well off. Even when your parents send you some money, it's genuinely not easy for them to come by it at all. Even if you do actually have money, it's truly hard-earned money. If we keep constantly competing just for mere appearances or to compare ourselves with others and continually drain our families because of it, then what kind of people are we? Sometimes I think about this. Nowadays, many people are becoming less and less filial and grateful to their parents. When you become a father or mother yourself, when you've truly spent all your money and have to personally raise your own beloved children, maybe then you'll fully realize that being a dedicated parent isn't so easy after all. There's a profound saying in many Tibetan regions, a mother's heart is like flowing water, a child's heart is like unyielding stone. It deeply means that a mother's heart is incredibly soft, much like gentle water, while a child's heart is hard, like stone. It's that feeling of indifference. But when you're still a child, you don't realize this yet. It's only when you truly become a parent yourself that you finally understand. By then, when you look back, your own parents may have already left this world. If you want to thank them, if you want to repay their kindness, there's no longer any real chance to do so in this world. What exactly causes this profound situation? I personally think it's primarily a direct result of desire. A mere few years ago, I distinctly recall it was specifically in 2007, when the esteemed Nobel Prize winner and former US Vice President, the highly influential Al Gore, he wrote a book called Earth in the Balance. In this book, he says that there are three main reasons why human civilization is in conflict with the Earth. One is the population explosion. That's the first. The second is the revolution in science and technology. And the third is the change in our view of nature. Among these, he believes that the revolution in science and technology plays the most significant role. I think the three crucial and well-articulated points he mentioned are indeed profoundly correct and accurate. Right now, the significant and growing imbalance between our entire human civilization and the delicate Earth is extremely serious. Maybe, as I just mentioned, many of you students might not have paid attention to this issue, but I also believe that many teachers are very concerned about this topic. However, in my own view, among the 3 points he mentioned, the last one should be about our values and the way each of us thinks. There are now some problems emerging in this area. I'm not looking at this from a pessimistic perspective. I try to understand these issues in a more positive way as well. In our society today, do we still need to eat and wear clothes, or do we also need certain means of transportation and information tools? These are indeed truly necessary. We have to keep up with all of humanity, with society, with the whole entire world. If we have nothing at all, that's definitely not going to work. But there also needs to be restraint. There needs to be a limit. We cannot just be endlessly greedy, allowing our greed and desires to grow completely unchecked. If your desires become extremely great, then even if you owned all the money in the world by yourself, in the past, the Buddha spoke about this in the sutras. If you alone possessed all the money in the entire world, you would still feel that it's not much at all, still not nearly enough. For people with especially strong desires, for example, 1 million yuan. 1 million is just a very small amount to someone who possesses great desire. 1 million isn't even enough to buy a car. They feel it's useless. So is 10 million enough? Maybe many of you think so. If you had 10 million, you'd think it's enough. But when you get there, it still won't feel like enough. Many big bosses use 10 million just to buy land, and even that's not. They still have to borrow from the bank, maybe take out a 5 million loan. So is having 100 million yuan enough? Still not enough. You might think 100 million US dollars would be enough. Even with 100 million US dollars, it wouldn't be enough. So our desires keep growing. Back in the day, in many cities, just having a bicycle was a big deal. Everyone was especially happy, and many people thought, whoever had a bicycle, in my hometown, it was like this. When someone bought a bicycle, When we were kids, a lot of people would go there to take photos. They would borrow the bicycle just to take pictures with it. Later on, when motorcycles appeared, the whole village would come to take photos with the motorcycle too. I felt so proud, but then that wasn't enough anymore. Then there were other things like Chang'an cars and so on. In many underdeveloped places like Luhuo, just having a little bit of wealth made people feel very proud. But the more you have, the more your greed keeps growing and expanding. So in the past, Mahatma Gandhi of India also wisely said, "The earth provides us only with what we truly need. It can indeed provide for our needs, but it absolutely cannot satisfy our desires. Indeed, the resources on earth are limited." This has been said before as well. If everyone in the world today were to achieve a moderately prosperous society, if everyone truly reached the living standards of the United States, then even the resources of 20 Earths would not be enough. But is that possible? There is only one Earth. The natural resources available on Earth can be said to be quite limited. We often observe on the vast Qinghai Tibet Plateau, it used to be blue skies, white clouds, green mountains, and clear waters, truly beautiful. But now, especially since the 17th century, the Western Industrial Revolution began to enter China. Afterwards, there was continuous degradation and relentless exploitation. After development, the entire sky became completely shrouded in thick clouds and pervasive pollution. The land below turned into all kinds of desolate, barren wasteland. You know, if you look from a satellite, you would see a stark transformation. The places now experiencing various natural disasters have completely and entirely turned into vast deserts, utterly barren, desolate, and lifeless. Why is this happening? In fact, you could say that humanity is suffering the consequences of its own actions, trapped by the web it has woven. I think this view is not an exaggeration. This is actually a very objective observation. For example, in ancient times, people protected the environment and their desires were not excessive. Take fishing, for instance. Someone would go fishing alone by the lake. At most, he would catch just enough from a single lake. But that's not the case now. Now, people currently use massive specialized equipment to catch vast quantities of fish by the millions. All the fish in the entire ocean are being caught and eaten. According to many statistics, regarding the various species on this planet, an average of 70 species go extinct every day. On average, several species are disappearing every single hour. So if we think about it, in this world, all the water and land have already been polluted. All the creatures in the sea, those flying in the sky, and even the animals and species living in the forests, everything that can be eaten is eaten. Everything that can be caught is caught. Some time ago, there were even cases abroad as well, where people started catching and eating other countries' wild animals. In the end, the whole world began to talk about this issue. So now we eat whatever can be eaten and catch whatever can be caught. If we have no sense of morality or conscience at all, what will humanity ultimately become in the end? We should really take a moment to deeply think about this. Some people genuinely believe that all things on earth should be possessed by humans. In fact, humans are not the masters of the earth. It should be truly said that animals are indeed the true masters of this earth. According to many prominent scholars, life on earth has existed for approximately 4.6 billion years. So how many years have humans been around? Everyone here studies history, so you should be clear about this. Therefore, our belief that we are the masters of this planet and our endless greed for everything is truly unreasonable. So if it's unreasonable, how do we address it? How do we achieve low carbon living? I truly believe there are indeed many different ways to reduce carbon emissions. To be honest, nowadays many, including many environmental protection organizations, have also adopted quite a few measures. But fundamentally, according to what is taught in Buddhism, our minds should be adjusted a little. If our desires decrease, if our greed is reduced, then naturally, so-called low-carbon living can be achieved and realized. This is something that everyone present should think about. Why is that? Because the Buddha also said so in the sutras. A contented person, even if lying on the ground, is still very happy. Conversely, a discontented person, even in heaven, is not quite satisfied. This means that if we have a sense of contentment and few desires, even if you sleep on the ground, you will still be especially happy. In some ethnic minority areas, the food is quite simple and people may wear the same piece of clothing for several years and live in a simple house. But the life they lead, there is no pressure, no suffering, and no particularly strong desires. They are always singing. Why is it that so often on television channels, the songs that naturally flow from them, those mountain songs, are so incredibly moving and so truly pleasant to the ear? What is the reason? It's because they don't have great desires in their hearts. The smile of a person without desires is truly radiant. The songs they sing can echo throughout the entire valley. If we are under the pressure of desire, suffering, and a sense of dissatisfaction, the sounds we produce will also be rather strange. So the first thing we need is a sense of contentment. This sense of contentment isn't something you can simply achieve just by thinking about it. Everyone here, and even in your future daily life, you may truly need to consistently practice this important skill. So how do you practice? When it comes to practice, according to some of the core principles taught in Buddhism, I think it's good to understand them a little bit more deeply. Having this understanding will be helpful for each of you in your lives. Maybe you're thinking, is this Buddhist individual here to tell us all about the teachings of Buddhism, or perhaps to promote it to us, like some kind of pyramid scheme trying to get us to learn Buddhism? It's not like that. Truth has its inherent value wherever it is truly found. Therefore, I genuinely don't need to recommend it to you at all. But based on the value I've come to understand over such a long period of time, I really hope that many of you can look at it from a positive perspective. These Buddhist teachings are not as simple as some people imagine them to be nowadays. Indeed, in my own many long years of dedicated study, after thoroughly looking into it, especially the most profound aspects of Buddhist philosophy, many young people today don't understand them at all, including astronomy and physics, as well as the environmental awareness that we frequently talk about today. How exactly did the Buddha explain these important concepts in the sacred Vinaya Sutra? He described very clearly the entire way our lives operate. Over 2,500 years ago, the Buddha possessed such great wisdom, which many people have only discovered now, in the 21st century. For example, in the field of astronomy, we meticulously observe and analyze the intricate movements of celestial bodies such as the sun and the moon, including the precise timing of when the moon reaches its full phase, the exact number of solar and lunar eclipses that occur within a given year, and the detailed characteristics of their respective orbital paths through space. Why we can see the full moon on the 15th day, but not on the 30th. These are all understood without relying on any instruments. At that time, the Buddha expounded the Kalachakra Tantra at the southern Mijita Stupa. And in the Kalachakra Tantra, everything is explained in a way that allows us to deduce these things ourselves. Just think about it. What kind of wisdom did the Buddha possess? This is astronomy. Likewise, when it comes to physics, including precisely what great minds like Einstein and Newton originally discovered, all the subtle and intricate principles of physics, such as those found in quantum mechanics, are explained even more precisely and with greater clarity. This is something we have also thoroughly discussed in other comprehensive treatises. Similarly, the growing awareness of environmental protection, regardless of where humanity is currently situated, no matter which country you are originally from or what your social status is, if you truly understand the profound Vinaya Sutra and the sacred Agama Sutra, then you will comprehend. For example, the Golden Light Sutra and the Lautan Sutra. The principles taught in these scriptures are absolutely 100% truly and genuinely beneficial to our daily lives and overall well-being. But nowadays, what specific and valuable kind of knowledge are people actively and earnestly seeking? As everyone knows, every day people just watch some television. This is the influence of the media, and it really does have a very significant connection to our daily lives. What you truly gain from this experience becomes your entire outlook on life. In this particular way, perhaps your personal greed will continue to keep growing and expanding. In the end, what kind of benefit does this actually bring us? So I think many people should learn to be content and desire less. Don't be too greedy. We should go with the flow. A lot of people seem to think every day, how great it would be if I had a lot of money. How wonderful it would be if I had so many houses and cars. Even when they're in school, they dream about these things. But after entering society, things aren't always so realistic. If all your thoughts are about even just a little bit of benefit, wanting to help many disadvantaged groups in society, then you should have this kind of mindset. This includes the environment within the scope that we ourselves are involved in. And now, protecting people's precious hearts is even more critically important than ever before. When it comes to environmental pollution, many people only see the external aspects, but as I just mentioned, the pollution of our inner world. All kinds of knowledge from Western countries have entered the hearts of many young people. Consequently, young people are constantly caught up in greed, anger, ignorance, jealousy, and arrogance. In Buddhism, these are called the 5 poisons, which are truly frightening. When this kind of intense desire especially increases significantly, people simply cannot control themselves at all. When your anger especially intensifies greatly, driven by that powerful anger, you could easily end up doing all kinds of truly evil and harmful things. In a society like this, truly caring for our inner world is even more profoundly important. So, regarding this fundamental principle, I think, of course, it's impossible for us to explain everything thoroughly in just 1 or 2 classes, but at the very least, you should know what exactly is truly meant by desire and what it truly means to be content with very little desire. Only when you fully understand its profound meaning will you truly realize that indeed in this world everyone should do something. We often advocate doing one good deed a day, which means performing a good act each day. Even if it's just a small thing around you, if it's something you can do, go ahead and do it. In this way, it will also bring meaning to our planet. In the past, you may have perhaps heard of a well-known Zen master called Master Dripping Water. He was indeed a very famous Zen master from Japan. This Master Dripping Water once served under a teacher, and while he was following his teacher, one time in order to wash his teacher's feet, he fetched a bucket of water, but before he finished washing, the water had already been poured out. After the water was poured out, the teacher was displeased and scolded him. He said, how can you possibly trample on the inherent value of even the smallest things? A single precious drop of water, he emphasized, can truly save a living being from perishing. Indeed, a solitary drop of water can effectively quench intense thirst. A single drop of water can become part of the vast ocean. A single precious drop of water can effortlessly flow into the vastness of infinity. How could you possibly waste such a fundamental element? At that very moment, the wise teacher sternly and powerfully rebuked him. When the young Zen master heard his esteemed teacher's profound words, he was truly and utterly frightened. Moreover, this unforgettable teaching had a deeply profound and lasting impact on his entire life. He immediately engraved it in his heart. For the sake of his teacher's words, he vowed never to abandon them. He even changed his name to Master Drop of Water, according to some historical accounts. At that time, because of his teacher's rebuke, he attained enlightenment. In Buddhist terms, he became an enlightened Zen master. No matter what, a single drop of water nourishes all things. Perhaps to us this seems very simple. We waste water every day. But in reality, you only come to understand this at a certain point. So, in our world, when absolutely no one truly cares, gradually, over time, in the very end, perhaps no one even genuinely realizes it has happened. There used to be a well-known metaphor, for example, involving a frog. If you put it in boiling water, it will immediately jump out. But if you slowly heat the water, the frog will die there without ever jumping out, even though it could. In precisely the same way, if our fundamental mindset doesn't significantly change, and if we keep indulging in this kind of modern society, then at a certain critical point, some of our deeply ingrained ideas simply cannot be changed. So, in order to truly change some fundamental aspects of our lives and values, and to effectively cut off our inherent greed, at its very root, it's our fundamental desires, Buddhism doesn't require that you completely eliminate all desires. For all of the young people who are sitting here right now today, it's not asking you to cut off all your desires and immediately shave your heads. To become monks or nuns in a temple, you certainly wouldn't do that either. Even Shakyamuni Buddha himself wouldn't demand that, let alone anyone else. It's simply impossible. But each of us has many desires that we don't actually need. You should be clear about this. Just think about it carefully. If you really think about it, in our daily lives, for example, a person only needs a few sets of clothes, and that's enough. Everything else is unnecessary. A person really only needs just a modest, average-sized room indeed. Many practitioners on our mountain have lived in a small room for over 20 years. Many people are like this. If a person doesn't compare themselves to others and doesn't have excessive desires, then basically living this kind of life is already enough. As long as you have food to eat and clothes to wear, that's sufficient. There's no need to be extravagant. Nowadays, many wealthy people look at a meal only in terms of just its price or its name, how much it costs, and so on. But what real meaning does that have? What does excessive waste actually bring us? So when we talk about having fewer desires, I truly hope everyone will practice this. This kind of training is really necessary. If we don't train ourselves, even if you attend a class today, you might end up being just like what the teacher said, or even worse than what the teacher described. When class is finally over, you might find yourself becoming angry very easily and quite quickly. If you happen to doze off or fall asleep during a class session, it might not seem to signify much at that particular moment. But if you truly, even though it's just a single class with simple content, if in the future your desires are even just a little bit reduced, this kind of training is actually something humans really need. With training, there's nothing you can't achieve. It's just like dedicated athletes who train thousands and thousands of times. In the end, their entire bodies become completely at their command. This principle even applies to various animals. For example, some intelligent monkeys, powerful tigers, and even graceful horses in circus troupes, all of them have gone through countless rigorous rounds of training and discipline. In the end, they're almost no different from us human beings. They can play ball, they can perform, they can do all sorts of amazing things. As human beings, it's truly unnecessary for our desires to keep growing endlessly and without limit. Is it really necessary? Everyone should think about it. If it's not necessary, should we truly keep going down this clearly wrong path we are currently on now? Or should absolutely everyone, even if not everyone, fully realizes it? But as long as some people become aware, they can have more reasonable expectations for their own lives. This point is indeed very important. Otherwise, no matter how much we have, we can never truly be happy. I once saw something, well, it's actually a reality nowadays too. There was a female entrepreneur living in a particularly beautiful coastal city in the US, comfortably residing in a luxurious villa there for many years. One day, a former classmate of hers called her, saying she happened to be on a business trip to that city in the US, and asked if she could stay with her for a few days, if she could stay at her comfortable place. She readily agreed. She then drove her sleek BMW to the airport to personally pick her up. After picking her up, she brought her to her own beautiful villa. You might know this as well too. The overall environment in the US is really, really nice. All around there are numerous swimming pools, well-maintained tennis courts, and so on. Everything is completely surrounded by lush, beautiful gardens. In these gardens there are especially luxurious villas. Below there are several truly high-end cars parked prominently there. When she gracefully went upstairs, she discovered more than a dozen spacious rooms, each one meticulously decorated with exquisite paintings by famous artists from around the world. All of them were truly astonishing, and she was kindly told to pick any room she genuinely liked to stay in. She asked her, "Where exactly did your entire family go?" She replied, "Because we still have quite a substantial amount of money. My dear husband had an affair and has already left me. My beloved son has grown up. He now has his own dreams and aspirations and has moved out of the house. Now I am very, very poor. Now, aside from money, I have nothing at all." She really started to cry. Maybe some of those people actually truly think that if you have money, you can't be poor and you'll have everything. But that's actually not the case. When human greed and desire are out of control, even if someone has everything, they still feel like something is missing inside. This is one of the saddest things about us. So many people here hope to find a path of true contentment and fewer desires. In our limited lifetime, we should do what we can for society and for the people around us. Do what is within our ability. At the same time, we should always consciously try to adjust our mindset. This is true inner happiness. This is real well-being. This is what we call a low-carbon perspective in Buddhism. Of course, the true teachings of Buddhism are found in many scriptures and treatises with very rich theories and some practical methods for cultivation. In this short time we have, it's truly impossible for me to fully explain everything to everyone clearly and comprehensively. But overall, each person should carefully look at the world, observe the people around them, including myself, and genuinely ask, what is the true value of life? What does so-called greed truly bring us indeed? To the entire world, to the external environment around us, and even deep within our own hearts, it invariably brings a profound sense of emptiness. If we ourselves possess a genuine sense of contentment in our fundamental basic life, as Buddhism very often says, what exactly is the Buddhist perspective on this crucial matter? The Buddhist perspective is that your life doesn't need to be overly wealthy, but it also shouldn't be too poor or deprived. As long as your basic needs are met, that's what Buddhism permits. Personally, the more I study Buddhism, perhaps it's related to my faith, but when I use my own wisdom to make choices, every principle the Buddha taught in the sutras, I always feel that today's society especially needs them. If you're interested as well, you can carefully look into and thoroughly study these ancient Buddhist scriptures and profound treatises. It will only benefit you. There is absolutely no harm in it. It's not like what a few people nowadays claim, saying, don't study Buddhism as if you'll immediately become a monk after learning it, or that you'll fall into a cult after studying Buddhism. That's not the case. Most people who study Buddhism remain lay practitioners. Only a very small number become monastics, but for those who do, it is beneficial for society and personal liberation. Some only appear to be monastics. It's not just monastics. In society, so-called leaders and entrepreneurs also only appear to be such. Many people just putting on appearances are harmful to society, themselves, and others. So, when talking about environmental protection, what is most fundamental? We need to start from within our hearts. If each person lacks this motivation, if they don't have the ability to control their own individual desires or impulses, then no matter how many times you talk about a low-carbon lifestyle, in reality, driven by desire, you keep running wildly forward. And what exactly do you ultimately get in the end? You just keep running endlessly on. And in the end, you never find true peace. If everyone truly understands their own mind and is able to be content with less and reduce their greed, if you live in such an environment, a truly harmonious and peaceful environment, you should be able to live very happily. All right, that's really just all what I wanted to share with you.
Thank you very much to Khenpo Sodargye for his insightful speech. The Master explained the concept of a low-carbon lifestyle to us from the perspective of living with significantly less greed, as well as the responsibilities and contributions of individuals to sustainable human development. In fact, the Master has set an example for us in this regard, serving as a truly outstanding role model who practices what he preaches. I have seen and read in some materials before that one of the Master's undershirts dates back to 1993, and he has been consistently wearing it up to this very day. He has also been diligently using the exact same belt since 1990 until now. We truly find this absolutely astonishing and remarkably admirable for everyone present here today. Khenpo Sodargye is extremely eloquent and has very unique insights regarding environmental issues. I believe this speech has been very beneficial for all of us. Also, I don't know if everyone has truly noticed, but here in Nanning, Guangxi, China, for more than 2 months, we've had continuous drizzling rain. Today is quite special. We had a sudden shower, so I also hope that the Master's words are like spring rain, nourishing the hearts of each and every one. Let us express our gratitude with a round of applause.